So basically, the idea is that we have a lot of components in Bahmni like MRS, LIS, ERP. LIS is a laboratory information system, and then we have ERP, and then we have so many other components coming up. So we have done some work on PACS based system as well. So as you know, all of these systems communicate with each other using Atom feed. We have a feed mechanism where the synchronization happens between all these systems. Might be it's a topic on its own. We can take it up at some point later. But then the main problem that we were facing was to actually manage the installation of all of this. What we have done was we went through the RPM way of installing stuff. So all our production boxes are CentOS 6.7 machines. So we thought, RPM way of installing stuff would be much simpler. So for those of you who are not aware of RPM, it's like Red Hat Package Manager. So it's a standard way of installing packages on Linux machines. The idea is that, you say yum install Bahmni, and it should be able to install all the relevant components, and then make things ready. It's for a basic dev setup for now, and if it's a kind of a setup where it needs more configuration, like for example, if it's a master slave kind of setup for a database, right? So these kind of specific topologies or scenarios are covered using Ansible, but each of the component in itself can actually be installed using RPMs. Okay. The idea is that each of these, let's take OpenMRS, right? So what we have to do is just do a yum install OpenMRS, and it would have its own embedded Tomcat in it, and it would start up as a Linux service. The advantage there is that you have all the logs stored up in var logs OpenMRS folder, and you have standard Unix packages being Unix file system being used at standard places, so that it's very, very easy to figure out what are the services that are running, how do I start and stop a service, and so you can kind of leverage Unix utilities there, right? Do you have any questions at this point? I'm very sorry I can't hear you folks, but yeah, if you have some questions, otherwise I'll move on. Okay, awesome. The idea is that the first step of this installation process would be something like yum install OpenMRS, and that just installs a baseline OpenMRS database, OpenMRS version. Like let's say 1.11 is what we are using currently. So OpenMRS 1.11 version will be up and running, and we connect to a plain database. So at this point in time, there is a database that is available from scratch, so which has all the migrations, like all the base OpenMRS migrations run. At this point in time, if a database is already existing, let's say for some of the implementations the database might be there, or let's say it's an already existing implementation and you just want to bring up the OpenMRS, even in that case, if the OpenMRS DB exists, it would not do anything. It will just use the same OpenMRS database. And once the OpenMRS is installed, then the next step would be the Bahmni EMR. So we just do a yum install Bahmni EMR. So I'll just try to write the commands here. I can show the demo as well. I'll do it to the end. Yum install OpenMRS would just install OpenMRS software with a base database in it. And the prerequisites for it is that a MySQL client needs to be there for running some migrations. But if MySQL server can be on any host, it need not be on the same machine, right? And then you have yum install Bahmni EMR. So this is a Bahmni setup for OpenMRS. So what this guy does is he would copy the relevant OMod files, OpenMRS modules, and put it at the right location, and then it would run all the migrations of Bahmni. Migrations are anyways run as soon as we start the OpenMRS, and it would set up anything else, some extra migrations that we would like to run, or base Bahmni basically. So after this step, the assumption is that the installation is ready with Bahmni with all OMODs loaded, and then it connected to the right database with right migrations in place. So at this point in time, we have Bahmni running. Okay. So the next step would be like for some of the implementations that we have, they just use the OpenMRS of it, and they're like, let's say they don't want lab and ERP. That's fine. We'll stop the installation here. But let's say somebody wants to install lab. It's yum install Bahmni lab. Right. So Bahmni Lab is also another web application. It's based on OpenLS. For those of you who is not aware of it, it's based on a software called OpenLS. It again, this guy has its own embedded Tomcat and listens on a different port. The reason why we have decided that each of these applications will have their own Tomcat is that the overhead it creates on the memory footprint was kind of lesser. We didn't see any major performance bottlenecks there, but it more acts as its own component on its own. So for some of the implementations that doesn't need it, we can just drop it off. And managing the logs, everything like in a Unix style was kind of easier. Okay, so that was one of the decisions that we have made. At this point in time, the lab system is up and running, and the requirement is that it need not be on the same box. It could, like earlier we used to have all the components on one box, but then now the requirement is not that Bahmni lab can be on any other machine. Only thing is there are certain properties files that reference localhost and all, which needs to be taken care. So that is the part of Ansible, Ansible installation. Ansible will take care of that. So it would replace the right property files at the right place, and it will internally use these building blocks of RPMs and install the stuff. I'll just take a pause here to just verify if there are any questions. Yeah. So correct. So basically, what we have is a Bahmni installer RPM. So that also will be internally managed with correct. So there are a couple of ways, Darius. So one way is that there are Ansible playbooks that are available that we have written. So it works like this. What happens is there is a Bahmni installer RPM that is available. All you need to do is do a yum install Bahmni installer. Okay, that guy downloads a command line utility for Bahmni. Okay, and what it also has is a YAML file. I can I don't know. I can just show you here. Also has a YAML file because all the versions of RPMs that it needs to use. Okay, so I'll just take you through this. This is the project. This is the Ansible project. So here we need to kind of so there is a wiki configuration wiki page for this as well. Like I can share the link with the users, with the audience here, how to install stuff. Okay. So I'll just show you this one. So that YAML file actually defines what are all the various RPM versions that are available. Like let's say I need the Bahmni MR of 0.79 version. This is our Bahmni release currently, and each of the versions you can specify. And once this particular versions are specified, it would download the relevant RPMs from a yum repo. That repo, actually, we have a couple of repos. One is an internal repo in ThoughtWorks where we host the. It's not internal, actually, it's outside. It's available on the internet, but it's kind of the dev builds. And then there is something that we host on Bintray. Many of you would have heard of Bintray. Bintray is a popular open source popular tool, right? Yeah. Thanks, Gurpreet. Gurpreet has posted the link. So this link tells you, how to install stuff using Ansible. We download all the relevant RPMs that are required, and then we would it would run the installation of the stuff. So that could be for an advanced setup. But if it's a proper dev machine and you would just want to play with Bahmni, I would suggest using just normal yum install Bahmni, like these links actually will help, right? Also, in this context, I would like to bring up one more point. Is that we are actually publishing a Vagrant box to Atlas. Atlas is the company from Atlas is a service from HashiCorp, who are the creators of Vagrant. Okay, so they are kind of a cloud provider where they can actually host all these Vagrant boxes. So what we are doing is we are simply using these installation steps to actually create that Vagrant box on the fly and push it to that Atlas repo. So to get the source code of that, right? How we do that? That is also available here in Bahmni Vagrant project, right? And use Packer for that. And so the script that I am showing you is a simple installation of Bahmni. Okay, so all we do here is install the basic JRE, MySQL, basic stuff, and then the way we install Bahmni is this thing. Yum install OpenMRS, and then you install the right version of whatever components you would need. Bahmni EMR is the actual Tomcat version of it, like basically the Tomcat with the OMods and all of it. It would copy the right place. Bahmni Web is the Apache component where we would have everything in like Bahmni apps, AngularJS app available in var www location, and managing something in SSL conf, replacing it with the right stuff and all of that, reports and all of it. So this script could be one of the references. So might be I'll paste this in the chat. Yeah. And with respect to Ansible setup, I would like to mention one more point. That point is that if you have a database backup and you have your own config, like default config or your implementation specific config, you can place it at a specific location, which is again mentioned in this wiki page here, and then start the Ansible installation. It would copy it to the right places and it would do all that kind of work. Do we have any questions? Okay. I hope people are following. I'm very sorry for the mic not working. I would have taken care of this before. But yeah, please bear with me there. Okay. So moving on to the next, so this is what I thought I'll like to cover. So I'll just take you to my Vagrant box here to just show you, just get a feel of how the RPM installation look like. I hope you are able to see my screen. Gurpreet, if you don't mind, can you keep giving me some feedback on if everything is going well or not? Because I can't hear people. So, okay, thank you. So I would like to just show you the list of the RPMs that are already installed. So if you see, I've just done a yum list installed to list all the RPMs that are available currently installed in this box. So it's Bahmni MR, ERP, and all of it. So removing a software is easy. Just do a yum remove -y, and let's say Bahmni ERP. Remove it. Yeah. I remove OpenMRS. Right, OpenMRS is removed. So at this point in time, if I look at opt OpenMRS folder, so this is the folder for OpenMRS. I wouldn't find anything because it's removed. So now what I would do is I will install OpenMRS. It will take a bit of time, but yeah, it'll go download the particular OpenMRS RPM from the yum repo, and then it'll install stuff here. Yeah. So while this is happening, I'll just move on with the next topic. Maybe we can come back to it at some point in time to just see if this has happened properly. So the next thing that I thought we have done something with respect to the SSL certificates. Like as most of you know, buying SSL certificates is a kind of costly affair, and Bahmni's yeah. So this is the installation of it is complete actually. So at this point, I can go to opt OpenMRS, and I can see that the OpenMRS WAR file is available. And yeah, so I can say service OpenMRS start to start the service. So to just check, I'll do a ps-ef grep Java to see that this particular thing as OpenMRS is actually started as a Java command with an embedded Tomcat in it. This guy has embedded Tomcat in it, right? And checking the logs is also pretty simple. Where log OpenMRS log. Yeah, it started now. I can just go to yeah. So the OpenMRS is up and running. And at this point, there is no Bahmni yet, so it's a base OpenMRS. I hope you got the point that I'm trying to convey. Okay. So moving on. Yeah. So regarding the SSL certificates, so we use HTTPS protocol for accessing all our applications, whether it's MRS, lab, or ERP, and we have a Apache which is listening to our request and would forward it to the right application. So the problem was with the SSL certificates, we used to have this awkward message like how you're seeing, right? So it says, the identity is not verified. So recently there is an open source project called Let's Encrypt, where what they've done is it has an automatic domain validation. That guy would actually give you the SSL certificates after validating it in an automated fashion. So I just thought I'll give that information. So how it works is that on a bare machine, like you need to own a domain. In our case, let's say we have bahmnidev.org. Okay, so what we have done is Let's Encrypt comes up with a program. So you need to start up this particular program in a DigitalOcean box or somewhere. And once you start it up there, what happens is it would listen to a 443 port, and it'll be ready there. And the program also, what it does is it would go give a request to a Let's Encrypt server that is sitting somewhere on the internet, and then that guy does a callback to your domain to verify that your domain and the IP address from which you are calling me are valid. So like let's say I as a program sitting on the DigitalOcean box would trigger a request. It would ensure that the response comes back properly. That way, with a particular domain in place, that way it would ensure that the validation of that particular domain is done successfully, and it would generate certificates, SSL certificates, and you can take those SSL certificates and reuse this domain in an internal network. Like let's say you have an IP like 192.168.33.10 to actually be called dev.bahmnidev.org. It is possible. So all you have to do is do a HTTPS dev.bahmnidev.org. It would internally, like you need to have your own DNS, whether it's a route, whether it's inside router or wherever it is, it would call back and the certificates are valid. So that way we could overcome this problem, and we are actually planning to do it for some of our customers as well. So this project is called Let's Encrypt. So just type it here. Yeah. Nice. Do you have any questions here? Okay. So if you don't have any questions, I can move to the next topic that I thought I'll cover. Uh, uh, um, so actually, Darius, the thing is, there are a couple of things that we need to do for SSL certificates. One thing is, once we have these certificates in place, yeah, so it doesn't do it as part of this automatically. So these certificates needs to be based at the right place, and these are not common for everybody because it's generated per site, right? So you can at a time like configure, let's say dev.omnidev.org. You can give multiple subdomains at the time of generation of the certificate, so that the certificate is valid only for those kind of subdomains. So that process is not directly linked to the installation process. All we can do in the installation is specify the right certificate location where it is available, and in the SSL conf, and that can be automated in such a way that when you install it, that it would assume that the particular certificates are already there. So these two are kind of slightly different processes, and it's not a very generic approach because the certificate should be per site. I hope I answered your question. Okay. Any other questions?
It's unfortunate that it doesn't automatically scroll.
Okay.
Into the conference chat.
Sorry, Darius is speaking something. I can see the icon. Okay. I'll move on to the next topic if you don't have any questions. So the next topic is about support for program enrollment attributes. So like some time back, I think 2-3 months back, we raised a OpenMRS ticket for supporting program enrollment attributes. We had a requirement for one of our customers where we had to, at the time of enrolling a patient to a program, we have to support some additional attributes which are very specific to the program. So at that point in time, it was good. It was that we were happy to contribute there, but then the requirement got postponed. But now that we are in OpenMRS 1.12, we thought it's not very at this point we can't contribute back to 1.12, and we have to have it as part of one of our requirements. So we developed it in Bahmni, but then the idea is to ultimately contribute it back to OpenMRS. I'll just take you through the screen first before taking you through the code. Please feel free to stop me. I'll keep looking at the messages. Right. I'm very sorry. Okay. Gurpreet is answering your question. That's true, Gurpreet. Whatever you have said is correct. Okay. Nice. So let me take you through the program attributes screen. Okay. So I am on a Bahmni dashboard. So I'm actually going to the programs page now. Okay. I select a particular patient. This is our test environment, so bear with the names and all. It's not very clean. So like, let's say I want to enroll a particular patient to a program. So this is our screen where we can actually enroll a particular patient to a program. So this is what I was talking of. So there are certain things like ID and treatment date, certain extra information that we need to capture as part of this enrolling a patient to a program. So we actually used a program attributes for that. again, program enrollment attributes, just to be clear, so that this could be stored. I mean, this follows a very similar structure of how we did it for location attributes and visit attributes. So this is the extra information that's available at the time of enrolling a patient to a program. I'll just look at my chat messages. Okay. Yeah. So basically, I can specify some ID, and if at all I have some information, and yeah, so I can see that this particular ID is entered for a particular program, right? Okay. So I can take you to the code, but before that, if you have any questions regarding the functionality, or I can still take that after that as well. Okay. The idea is that ideally, if any patient program, so we have something called patient program attribute that is defined. It follows this base attribute structure, which is very much similar to what we do it in location attribute and visit attribute, as I mentioned. So it supports something called attribute type, and it has a common structure. So this guy extends base attribute and implements an attribute, right? And then there is something called attribute type. Again, it also follows a very similar structure, extending base attribute type, right? And then because we can't modify the patient program, we extended the patient program functionality with Bahmni patient program. Ideally, if we could, I think there is a customizable like attribute implementation that is already available. Like because we can't extend multiple classes, we had to implement it and do all the copy paste work here. But then I think once we merge this back to OpenMRS, like as part of the ticket, we'll need to do some cleanup in this area. So this way, we have enhanced the patient program to actually allow attributes to be stored as part of it and define the data model for it, right? And it's as I told you, it's very much similar to location and visit attribute. It follows the same framework. Do we have any questions here? Okay. Please feel free to type in your questions here. Sorry, Darius, I didn't understand the question. So which depot meaning? I mean, currently it's all in Bahmni, Bahmni core. Currently it's in Bahmni core, but then the idea is to merge it to OpenMRS 2. Next version. Like whenever we test, the testing is all done and we are good to go. Might be we will contribute it back to the community. Sure. Okay, so it's all in Bahmni core API, and the resources also are like the attribute resource, and they are also defined. So they are also in Bahmni for now. Okay. So it follows the standard attribute resource thing. I can show you that as well. This is the program attribute type resource. And then there is something called program. Yeah, patient program. So this guy uses the Bahmni program enrollment resource. So it still follows the same convention of OpenMRS in terms of web services REST framework. Okay. So more or less, this is what is the agenda that I thought I'll cover in this. Again, apologies for my mic not working. Might be I'm not very interactive here. Might be I'm just saying from my side, but yeah, feel free to ask any questions or anything. Do you have any other questions? So yeah, I'm kind of done. If you have any questions, please let me know. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So the idea is like we've started publishing the tech reports, like what is happening in Bahmni on a regular basis. So it's kind of a monthly report, and the idea is like we're planning to write more articles about OpenMRS and Bahmni and like how things work, kind of thing. So it's anybody who is interested in Bahmni would like to go through them. This is the right place, I would say. So also the things that I've spoken of, some of these are already available in this tech report. Please feel free. And if you need some help in terms of setting up Let's Encrypt or any installation issues or anything, please feel free to put it in talk.openmrs.org under a Bahmni tag. Yeah. So I think that's what I have. I think Gurpreet, you like to add on something to it?
No, I think you sort of summarized it well. Thanks. I just actually added another question on the chat channel for you. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Uber Conference chat doesn't seem to auto scroll all the time.
So running OpenMRS as a separate service. So what we have, in fact, there are no. So I'll tell you my experience with having everything in one Tomcat, right? So what happened was we used to have a lab, lab, and lot of other. There is something called ERP Atom Feed service. So that is also one of the connector between MRS and ERP. So all this having in one Tomcat actually made it kind of difficult. Can you hear me? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So I was just talking about what were the disadvantages or advantages of having OpenMRS as a separate service. So earlier we used to have everything in one bulky Tomcat, and sometimes getting the locks was also cumbersome, and sometimes it was like as part of the installation process, right? Earlier installation process, we had to deploy everything irrespective of whether a person uses certain things or not. There were some manual hooks here and there, but now having them separated and isolated, I think it's kind of better is what we feel. uh, the kind of disadvantage that I see with this approach is that the size of the installation is slightly bigger. So because that OpenMRS is now embedded has an embedded Tomcat in it, the size of the RPM is big. So that is one of the disadvantages. I think apart from that, having it as a service is actually helpful, because for a person who is actually very familiar with Unix style of working, it's very natural to him. So where the locks are stored, where the everything else, basically how to start a service, it's like service OpenMRS start, and you start it in a debug mode, it's service OpenMRS debug. So these are some advantages, and this will go everywhere, like even on a so it's the same set of commands you use everywhere, right? So earlier debugs were working only in a dev machine with a certain configuration, like JPDA and all. But then this is kind of good, is what I feel. So yeah, Gurpreet asked a question about database related setup. So if an OpenMRS, as I told you, right, if you install the Bahmni RPM, if it sees that the OpenMRS database is not available, it would actually create an OpenMRS based DB, and Bahmni EMR RPM would actually run all the migrations that are required. But we are working towards a base clean database. Currently, what we have is a database with only the migrations in place, which is not in a usable state, because it needs to have some visit types, some base things configured for it to work with Bahmni. So without that, it actually is kind of useless. You keep seeing error messages on the UI. So what we have in the pipeline is to have a base database which is clean, and you can start using Bahmni from there. So we are playing some story cards for that. Multiple embedded Tomcats which could be separated into separate RPMs, and so total package size would be smaller. Multiple embedded. So as I told you, right? So with respect to embedded Tomcats, so one advantage that we see of it being isolated is that it can be installed, or some cases it like let's say I'm not using lab, I don't need that embedded Tomcat in place. I'm not very much sure about your question, but if your question is about how do we compose it and create a RPM, I can talk a bit about it. So what we do is we use Gradle plugin. There is something called Netflix Nebula plugin. I'll type it here. Nebula plugin. So what this guy does is he'll give us an overview of he'll provide a simple Gradle plugin which gives us post-install, pre-install kind of scripts, and we have a core project in our Bahmni package repo. Okay, I'll type it here again. So you can go through the code here. So this is our Bahmni package, which will generate the RPMs. I don't know if you can see my screen. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's stop my screen. Okay, but I can just paste it here. Yeah, so I pasted the link here. This is the Bahmni package link. So the core component in this particular thing is an embedded Tomcat, which is being reused by all the RPMs. So this is the place where the RPM gets packaged. Yeah. So I'm not sure if, Tim, that answered your question, but that's true. That's true, Darius. Yeah. So the idea is to make it simple, a one-click install. But yeah, from the size perspective, it has its own drawback. But yeah, that's true. So what Ansible playbook mainly does is uses this underlying RPM building blocks and tries to compose them and make a bigger one-click installer. So you can visualize it like that. Any other questions? So the OMODs are part of Bahmni EMR RPM. So yeah, so it's the WAR files are at a separate location. What we do is we use this opt OpenMRS modules as the place for storing all the OMODs, right? So all the OMODs are available at this location. Yes, and it's bundled as part of Bahmni EMR RPM. So one point I would like to mention here is that we have actually like we have a roadmap in place now. So I think it will be open to the community very soon, mostly in the next month. So wherein we are trying to publish what is happening in Q2, Q3, and like in subsequent year, like what is Bahmni focusing on and all of it. I think the roadmap is getting ready. I think we'll publish it as soon as it is available. So just thought I'll make it an option. Initially, the idea was to take the people here through the roadmap as well, but I've heard from Vivek that it will take some more time to get it ready. So the moment it is done, we'll publish it. Do we have any other questions? Okay. So regarding the upgrade, right? So we have one version of RPM per release. So like Bahmni EMR, current release of Bahmni that's going on is 0.79. And once the release is over, we have a next release. All we do is yum remove 0.79 and then yum install 0.80. Yeah, yum update actually doesn't work because there are some limitations with the Nebula plugin that I was mentioning. Somehow, so basically they need to provide a hook for upgrade, like post upgrade. Basically, that hook is missing in the Nebula Gradle plugin. So if we do a yum update, then it would actually try to figure out what the post upgrade script is, and it won't find it. So I think we are working around the problem for now. I think we will have to see what needs to be done. But for now, the idea is to do a yum remove and yum install back. So the config files, the expectation is that whenever we give the Ansible build to the customers, so when you do yum remove of Bahmni web, the config files will also go away. But then, as I told you, right? So what we give to the customers is a Ansible build. So you have a Bahmni installer RPM. So the expectation is that you have a config file, and if you have a database backup, you can provide those two as inputs. Database backups might be only for the first release, but subsequently you wouldn't need it. So NTB the config folder with the RPM installer as an input would set up Bahmni end to end, basically. Yeah, I mean, there is a specific location in which you need to put it. The wiki page that Gurpreet has pasted here actually has the process of how to do it. That's true, Darius. So we are not removing MySQL and PGSQL. The database stays up. It's only for the first release that you might need a database backup, but subsequently you don't need it. So this is for the people who wants to start with a base dump rather than starting something from scratch. So we still have that provision. So reason for CentOS versus Ubuntu. So when we started off with Bahmni, CentOS was a supported operating system. I exactly don't know the history why it was chosen like that, but a lot of our customers are on CentOS. And I think as I mentioned, the Nebula plugin that we are using is actually capable of generating the depths as well. So the idea is in future in our roadmap we have a support for depths as well. So that thing is coming very soon. So once that is there, you should just be using apt-get install Bahmni MR to install Bahmni. Like the same commands with apt.
I think that part of the rationale, as I understand it, for CentOS versus Ubuntu, well, for choosing CentOS was that was sort of by far a more common choice for when you were spinning up a cloud server somewhere. That was the conventional thing you'd find. But I also was not involved in any of the original discussions.